YouTube. I think they shared the YouTube stream key.
Okay. So right now we're just going through.
I don't see it on Facebook just
I'm just putting it now. All right, done. It should be up now.
Yep, I see it.
Yep, we're good.
Yeah.
All right, and it should be on as well, right? Oh, nice, man. YouTube. I think they shared the YouTube stream key.
Okay. So right now we're just going through.
I don't see it on Facebook just
I'm just putting it now. All right, done.
Do you guys hear yourself going in the background, or is it just me?
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Let's take care of this first. Is it better now? Are we good?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yes.
Mufti, we're good on your side? Are we live on your YouTube?
We're live on the YouTube, and I'm just about to share it to our Allen Masjid page, and we should be good.
All right, Alhamdulillah, I think we're good to go. Firaz, you want to start us off?
Yeah, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I really appreciate every single person that's tuned in to our weekly episode of True Believers, Whispers of Shaytan with Mufti Nauman and Sheikh Mubeen, and me as your host, Firaz Sheikh. So one thing that we look at when we look at Islam in America today is that if you look at any of the other religions in America, you'll see that by the second, the third, and then the fourth generation, you'll see that it starts to dilute a little bit and people get away from the religion. And unfortunately, Islam is not unique to this problem. We are part of this problem, and where we see that people going on into the first generation Muslim Americans and then second generation Muslim Americans are slowly losing their faith. So with that being said, Sheikh Mubeen and Mufti Nauman came together and they put this program together called True Believers, the Whispers of Shaytan. And these are the deceptions that Shaytan put into our lives daily. And what it does to us is that it makes us believe that something might not be as it seems. And we'll go a little bit further into that when we start speaking, inshallah. But the main purpose of this is to kind of talk about what different things that go through our mind whenever we're doing our day-to-day activities and how to address them from the concept of, is this something that Shaitan is leading me astray, or is this something that I'm truly doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So with that being said, first we're gonna go ahead to Sheikh Mubeen and say assalamu alaikum, how are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. The third day of fasting and it feels like it's raining. It is raining.
It really is, man. I mean, today I think was the first day that I decided to sleep in, and I prayed Dhuhr a little bit later than usual. I was like, dude, I can't do this regular waking up schedule.
So I like how you said that today was the day that you decided to, and the other day it just happened. That's reality. So I know, like in our house, Muhammad at 9 o'clock, no matter what, no matter if you wake up for Zuhur, if you stay awake all night, 9 o'clock, he's picking at your nose, like wake up, Abba, Abba, Abba. So today, I tried to sleep. I tried to sleep in a little bit. I think our schedule today was mainly in the evening. So alhamdulillah, it's been good, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. How about you, Mufti Nauman? How's Ramadan going? I think this is probably all of our first Ramadans in self-quarantine.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully it's the first and last, right? But I definitely reiterate that same sentiment. Any extra additional hours of sleep, man, just really adds to that hunger. Is it just me?
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. That's
what's on today, dude. I got an extra hour, and I was like, "Yo, why am I so hungry?" But yeah, I agree with you guys. I'm really looking forward to today's o'clock.
So with both of you guys being as religious figures right now, within Islamic Association of Allen and Islamic Center of Frisco, would you say this Ramadan has been somewhat easier because of quarantine? Based off of past experiences, or something harder?
We both nodding our head at the same time.
Yeah. Like as soon as you didn't have to finish it, and we were both nodding our heads, like, not at all, man. And so first off, I think like from the community standpoint, it's definitely much harder. It's definitely it's going to take a lot more effort. And again, we've addressed this in our previous talks and previous programs, but to get that same level of spirituality that you would get when the masjid is up and running, it's gonna be really tough. Like if you go to the masjid just for a single salah, like you automatically just feel a little bit more spiritual. You feel connected to Allah. You don't got to do anything else. You don't got to listen to a lecture, read a hadith. It could even be Zohar Salat, where you don't even hear the Quran. And I think, and that's the beauty of the masjid, right? It gives you that spirituality just by being there. And I think, like, this month, without being able to go there and creating that at home, that environment, that atmosphere, that push, that purpose to worship Allah, it's definitely harder. And I think for, again, people that are associated with masajid, we are trying our best to kind of like put out as much as content to help people, whether it's reading Quran, mashallah, you see so many, different masajid having their substitute of Taraweeh, and their substitute of halaqas, all online, just trying to help people, bring in that spirituality. So is this Ramadan easier? Absolutely not. And I feel like week 2 of quarantine, everybody, like week 1 of quarantine, we're like, yay, we don't gotta go to school, we don't gotta go work. And week 2 of quarantine is like, please open the schools back up, open the masjid back up, and let me go to work. Because it's a lot more effort. It is a lot more effort. When you were working and you're going to school, fasting was easier because being patient, you're meeting different people, you're interacting with different people. Now it's the same 5 people, the same 4 people, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, maybe your spouse. It's the same people that you're interacting with all day. So now being patient is really that much more real.
Out the window. Right. No, I agree, man, 100%. It's been very, very similar, I think, all across the world. So for us, we thought of a little different style of programming. So we said, cool, why don't we go to the masjid and host our programs from there? So Sheikh Abdurrahman would first start with his khatira, but I really can't even put into words, guys. Like, just that first sight of the masjid, like, it's Ramadan, right? It's Ramadan. You're fasted. You just broke a fast at home, and there's just this wired expectancy that as soon as I pull up to the masjid and as soon as I park my car, there's going to be a parking lot full of cars, or the lights are going to be on, or there's going to be kids that are playing outside, right? Playing hooping or playing soccer or volleyball, whatever. But then when you go inside that masjid and you just see that it's just empty, right? Mm-hmm. The lights are off because they're trying to save on utility bills or whatever the case is, right? All the masajid are
rightfully so
going through the same, rightfully so. But just that sight alone is just so heartbreaking. And so, like, I was sharing this with one of my other friends, like, for those that, alhamdulillah, this was supposed to be my 11th year leading Taraweeh. And I don't think after this year, I'm ever going to take Taraweeh for granted. Mm-hmm. Because just like you were kind of afforded this opportunity and it just kind of felt like it was swept from underneath the rug. So coping with that sometimes becomes a little bit of a challenge, right? You kind of had this expectancy throughout your whole life of Ramadan being a certain type of way. When it doesn't manifest that way, coping with those unexpected detours in life sometimes becomes just that much more cumbersome or just that much more difficult. But subhanAllah, like, to your point, there's been scholars and people working diligently, man, to really try to substitute it. It's not possible, right? Let's start there. To substitute the masjid and the aura, the atmosphere, the vibe. You're never going to substitute that. That one sajda in the front row just probably tops so many things that you could ever probably do at home. But another really unique thing that comes out of it is you truly learn about yourself, man. Being around the same people every single day, you feel like I probably do have an anger problem I need to fix, right? I probably do have a short fuse, and why am I getting so upset at these people? These are my family members. But just you learn, it's a really, just eye-opening experience.
Right. So speaking onto that point, one of the things that we had a conversation about a little earlier, a few hours ago, was about the episode and the theme of what today's episode was going to look like. And one of the things that we talked about was, if I treat others with respect and do good by others, why does God allow suffering? Now, in some settings, these questions can sometimes feel a little uncomfortable asking. But I think it's very important that people feel comfortable asking questions like this to our shuyukh, like yourself and Sheikh Mubeen, so that we can have a better understanding of our faith. Because when we look at our parents, one thing that we notice is that, religion was kind of just given to them and they said, okay, believe it. And that was that. They tried replicating that same formula when they came over here to the States with their kids. And the problem is that you can't replicate that, right? I mean, with the advent of social media, being able to search things online, people are going to tend to ask these questions. And so for the viewers who might feel a little uncomfortable if they hear this question, just know that this is just so that we can kind of, start a conversation, kind of have a better understanding of our faith, inshallah. And this will solidify our faith versus weakening it. So with that being said, go ahead and I'll direct this question to Sheikh Mubeen first. If I do good in my life, right? If I go and I do good by others, if I treat people with respect, why does God allow suffering?
So I think let's take this a step back. In everybody's life, we have a picture of how our life is going to be, right? And usually we look at our parents, we look at people that we look up to, people that are successful, and tell ourselves, okay, if I do so and so things in my life, I look at my father and, mashallah, he has a degree. And if I get that same degree, then I'm going to get accepted into so-and-so, medical school and so-and-so college. But why is it that when I get to that point of my life, it doesn't work out like that? Mm-hmm. So first of all, we put together an image. Like, this is what my life should be like. I look at my parents and see that, mashallah, they were married for 50 years. Mm-hmm. Right. And they had, 5 children together, then my life should be exactly like that. And anything that's not according to that map, for me, I now associate that as a suffering. If I'm having troubles in my marriage, then that's suffering. If I don't get that job that I wanted, then I'm suffering. If I'm not able to have children, or I'm only boys or only girls, or I'm having financial difficulties, anything that's not according to that map, immediately we then turn around and say that's suffering, right? Because I had a vision that this is how my life was going to play out, and I did everything by the books. I studied, I worked hard, I made an effort. A lot of my friends goofed off. A lot of my friends, didn't, go to school. But I stayed on the straight and narrow. So now the question is, why do bad things happen to me? So first of all, immediately we take suffering and we associated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a weakness of Allah, or that Allah is upset with us, right? So we always say that, if something bad happens to you, and this is a very desi culture, when something bad happens to a person, like, oh, Allah is mad at you. That's what's happening. Right. You did something wrong, and this is Allah taking revenge upon you, which is a very human trait, that, something bad happens to you and you take revenge on somebody else. But when we look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests who he wills. And there was a person who came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, I love you. I love you and I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, are you sure? That's a very bold statement that you just made, that you love Allah and you love his messenger. And now this statement is actually a correct statement. This is you playing by the books, because the verse says, "Qul in kuntum tuhibbun Allah," say if you love Allah, then follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Allah will love you, you will love Allah. That's the path that you're supposed to be taking. So now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, are you sure? He says, yes, I'm sure. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned around and says to the person, that be ready, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test you now. Because there's nobody who made that statement except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested that person. That person has gone through some suffer. He's gone through some hardship. I mean, look at the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Not only does Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ayyub alayhi salatu wasalam, a pinnacle of suffering, a perfect example of suffering for years and years and years. Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, who suffered without his son. If somebody were to take my son away for like a day, na'udhu billah, I would lose my marbles. But imagine him for so many years being without his son. And this was he could have said that I'm the prophet of God. You can't get better than me at the moment. Why am I going through the suffering? Does God hate me? Am I bad? Or what's going on here? But what we see is that hardships doesn't mean that Allah is upset with us. Hardship doesn't mean that that something's wrong. When we do something good, it doesn't always mean that we're going to get good back in return.
Right.
You put your effort out. Let's say you go fishing, right? You do everything by the book. Again, I don't know. Again, if I blow some of these fishing terms off, I apologize. I know I'm originally from Kentucky, but I've never went fishing a day in my life. But let's say you go fishing. You're out there. You put your bait. You do everything. You go early morning. But what if you don't get anything back? Does that mean that Allah's upset with you? Does that mean that you did something wrong? It doesn't mean you did something wrong. That's just the way the cards happen to fall.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do everything right, you get a reward. Sometimes you do everything right and nothing happens. Let's say, for example, you come to the masjid, you put on a new Cowboys baseball cap, and I see you and say, "Hey, Firaz, nice baseball cap." And then next time you come to the masjid, Ramadan 2021, you put on a new baseball cap and you're expecting me to give you a comment, and I don't give you a comment. You're not gonna be like, well, did I do something wrong? Why aren't you complimenting? You do your effort. Sometimes you get the reward. Other times you don't get the reward. And that's just the way the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. But the thing is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us, puts us through hardships, when things are not working the way you want to. I remember I had this friend in Chicago, mashallah, a really good brother, and he came to me and was like, "Sheikh, make dua, man. I've been studying for so many years, doing so much, and I just can't get into a medical school." And he's, mashallah, tried so hard, really smart, intelligent guy. And in my mind, I was like, his brother is, mashallah, a heart specialist, heart transplant specialist. I'm like, this guy deserves to be, in those shoes. But then you just have to realize, that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have it lined up for you. But the unique thing is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards that person. I remember I was standing with Sheikh Fadl, and I always, remember this saying that, this hadith he shared with me. He said the Prophet ﷺ tells us that even when you are looking in your pocket for something and you can't find it, let's say that your phone is in your pocket, you put your hand to look for it and it's not there, that brief moment of panic that you have, you put on you reach over to your other side and there it is. That split second of panic that you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you for even that much. So going back to our question, if I've done everything right, if I have good characteristics, if I played things by the book, or even, let's look at today's day and age, right? In the current situation, there's a person who always wears his mask, a person who's always, putting on tons and tons of like hand sanitizer, like bathing in this stuff. This is like some knockoff brand hand sanitizer that I found like at a gas station for $8. But let's say this person who wears his mask, who washes his hands, who puts on the hand sanitizer, but then something bad, he catches, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect, but he catches a virus. What will you say? You can't say that, it's because Allah hates me. It's because that's what was destined for you. That's what was meant to happen in your life. Now, just because I am myself doesn't mean that only good things are destined in my way. And just because I'm not born in some third world country, that hardships can't be written for me. So a person has to, first of all, realize that, hardships do not equate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being angry with us. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested the different Anbiya alayhi wassalatu wassalam, and he even tested the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in many different emotional times and many different, struggles of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So that's the first thing that for me, a person has to realize that, you can't translate hardship as Allah's not happy with you, or you can't say Allah's not doing his job.
Right. And so then on the flip side, Mufti Nauman, I'll go ahead and ask you a question. So on the flip side, let's say I'm a bad person, right? I don't do anything that's good in my life. And one day, I have an epiphany. I wake up and I'm like, okay, I need to change the ways that I do. Now, a problem that we see in today's day and age is that everything is about instant gratification, right? You post something on Instagram, you want as many likes as you got. You post something on Facebook, you want as many views as you got. Same with YouTube. I mean, it's just the culture that we live in today. And so with that being said, if I'm a bad person, all of a sudden I have this epiphany and I want to do good in my life. And let's say, I go to the masjid, I pray 3 salahs at the masjid, for today. And after that, I go and donate charity. But tomorrow, it's still a bad day for me. What motivation could you say, or what words of advice could you give that would tell me that, okay, maybe I don't have to leave that. Maybe I don't have to revert back to my bad ways, but, there's patience in everything. How would you explain that?
SubhanAllah. So, when we talk about Ramadan, and like this whole idea of fasting and this whole idea of starving your body from all those permissible things that we enjoy every single day, the idea isn't necessarily to just starve yourself and just to avoid food so that you could gain a sense of appreciation for food. Of course, that's an added element to it. But the idea here is that when you have starved yourself and you don't have the energy to do all the regular things that you usually do, the same should stand true for all the negative elements in my life as well. You guys ever have those moments where you're just like really tired, right? Or you're just really just fatigued out. You just don't have energy to put into nonsense or something that's irrelevant or something that's not important. It's the same idea stands for fasting. When I've starved myself, it's to give myself that understanding that, okay, I should think twice before I say that statement, or I should, think twice before, I lash out on any person. So Ramadan, essentially is just recalibrating that moral compass, because a lot of us got those shortcomings and now they've become more evident because of quarantine and all of these different things. But I think inner reflection will really yield results of all of these things that we have that we need to fix. Once we have that list, that's just the beginning. I need to start working on that list. I need to start making proactive steps on that list. So the example is like that of someone who comes into Ramadan and is like, yo, why do I got to stop listening to music? Again, this is not to discuss the permissibility or impermissibility of music, just giving an example. If someone's like, why do I got to stop listening to music in the month of Ramadan when on Eid, I'm going to be bumping that album anyway. I might as well just bump it now, right? But truthfully, if you really detox yourself, and we'll just use the term detox for here, and you go through like that 30-day training period, I swear, wallahi, when you come on that other side, you think twice. It doesn't just come like that to you, like, oh, let me just go put on Spotify or whatever, right? And just listen to what I need to listen to. It's like, no, I just did 30 days of like, cleaning myself. It just feels different, right? And just the way your body and your heart responds to it just feels different because you just come out, cleansed in a way. Right.
It's kind of like, when Ramadan ends, right? Like it's on Eid day and like the sun's out and you're like, can I eat this or can I not eat it?
And you're thinking like, did I just break a fast? No, it's good. I'm good. Right. So it's exactly that. Even that, right? SubhanAllah, like we're laughing at it, but even just that like little second where you reflect and you ponder, it's like, SubhanAllah, dude, you gained something there, man. You get what I'm saying? Like even that little lapse in like, oh, am I this or am I? That's that little reflection that you kind of instilled within yourself. And so the idea is it shouldn't just be confined to these 30 days. Allah gives us these 30 days to show us the potential that we have. If I could kick a habit to the curb for 30 days, who am I kidding? I could kick that habit to the curb forever. Is it going to be easy? No one's saying it's going to be easy to kick habits to the curb. No one's saying it's going to be easy to make a change, right? It's like if someone's addicted to media, you're not just going to tell that person to get off of it, right? Or like the stereotypical example, right? The drug addict. You don't just tell the person to get off of it. There's going to be obvious withdrawals. And so it's a constant, like just reflection and understanding, and you build upon it. How can I continue to improve myself, my craft? So these types of things like quarantine, yeah, it could be taken as like, oh my God, the world's coming into an end. What's going on? It's Allah's adhab, but it's like, slow down for a second, champ. All of the same negativity could be looked at as a positive. And so, subhanAllah, like that's literally what the Prophet ﷺ was like wired to do, right? Like he somehow, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, always was able to find some positivity, right? Like Sheikh Mubeen teaches Sira, man, and he could give us like a list of examples. But you ask yourself, that someone who was like, who lost his father before he was born, someone who lost his mother at 6 years old, someone who lost his grandfather, who lost his uncle, who lost his wife, there was literally a year titled as Amul Huzn, because it was just full of sadness, dude, like all across the board. But yet he's known as someone who's always smiling. Like you ask yourself, how can you just be so designed, right? To, hey, someone could say, there was a prophet though, man. Like, what are you talking about? Of course. But it's like, yeah, we have that within ourselves too, right? No one's saying that you become a prophet overnight, but it's like those prophetic qualities, how much am I really doing to implement those in my life? And so if I'm not doing it at all, there has to be a start. So the example, like let's throw in Salah, for example, right? If I ain't praying 5 times a day, heck, if I'm not even praying once a day, it's really, I think, irrational to think that someone's just going to pray 5 times a day. And even if they start, typically what ends up happening is what? You'll find that person, they did it for like a couple of days or maybe a week or even a couple of weeks, but they got burnt out. You get what I'm saying?
Me and Jim, man.
I think it's the same for all of us with the gym. All these months. Yeah.
I think that's it's just how human beings are created. And I think the Hadith Prophet ﷺ comes to mind where the Prophet ﷺ says, "Ma qalla wa kafa khayru mimman kathura wa alha." What is little, but you can do it continuous, is better than that which a lot and leads to needlessness. So like if a person were to say, no, you had it bad yesterday, you had a bad past, and we all have skeletons in our closet. Nobody woke up well, beside the prophets, and woke up being perfect.
Right.
Majority of us had a history. And you look at some of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they had a history, right? Yeah. Where some of them were murderers, where some were drunkards, where some of them were oppressors. They committed zina, did so many sins, but after guidance came to them and after they understood that I need to make a change in my life, it's not that things were easy. It's not that that those feelings and those addictions never tempted them again. If there was a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, if you look at the hadith where alcohol became prohibited, immediately the companions took the alcohol and poured it onto the streets. Now you tell me, if you are a drunkard, if you have a habit of drinking all the time, you're not going to miss that? Of course you're going to miss it. And I'm sure there were companions that collapsed a few times as well. There was that one companion who used to get drunk in the daytime, and then at night, the Prophet ﷺ would have him whipped, and the next day he would go and drink again. And then he would get whipped again, and the companions around this person, I think in Nauman, and when he was getting whipped, they were making fun of him that, look at this guy, he didn't learn his lesson. And the Prophet ﷺ said, no, absolutely not. That's not the situation. Every time you repent back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives your sins and everything gets wiped away. So if tomorrow, if I have a bad day, if I'm able to pray 3 salahs in the masjid today, if I'm able to make it somewhat fast, but I know tomorrow, the day after, somewhere in the future, maybe on Ramadan, I'm going to be there, listening to what I shouldn't be listening to, that's okay. If I come across that stage, I'll repent back to Allah. And I know Allah will forgive me. But there's a balance between khawf and raja. I can't have too much hope in Allah, and I can't fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala too much. So the common person, what they'll do is they'll have too much fear, saying that I'm going to sin anyways. Why should I even bother? Or then you have the foolish person who's like, you want, oh, Allah maaf kar denga. You know, Allah's going to forgive me, do whatever you want. So you have two different extremes. And in Islam, there's a balancing act. To have hope in Allah, but not too much hope. Fear Allah, but don't overfeel Him. Understand that you have good days and bad days. Sometimes you will fall back to your sin. It's natural. Sometimes you will have hope in Allah, that Allah will forgive your sins. And Allah subhanahu in the Quran says, Tilkal ayyamu nudawiluha. These are days that we send. Sometimes good days, sometimes bad days. Wadduha wallayli idha saja. The morning time comes, but guess what? Wallayli idha saja. Nighttime is just around the corner. It's not always going to be sunshine, but darkness is going to hit you as well. So going back to our initial question, if a person is, kind of brings a change into their life, but knows something bad that they're going to, fall back tomorrow, what motivation that they have? Their motivation is the companions. Their motivation is knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving. And if you get to that state, then all you have to do is ask Allah for forgiveness again. Be sincere. You can't just, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, well, makru makallah. There are people who try to fool Allah and they try to make plans, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows what's happening, right? And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the hypocrites, He said that yukhadi'un Allah, that they think that they're tricking Allah, but in reality, Allah has their number. So as long as you are sincere and you really try, if you fall back, it's okay.
Yeah.
Get back up.
Allah, Sheikh, that really reminds me of like a really awesome point. I remember reading Mufti Taqi Uthmani Sahib kind of talks about this idea of, picking yourself back up. And so a really practical step to kind of add to that as well is like whenever a thought crosses your mind, a positive thought, right? Like to do something good. Like, let me go pray 2 rakats, just an example, right? Whenever that thought comes, act on that thought immediately. Any good that crosses your mind, don't let it sit. Like, okay, yeah, maybe for later, or yeah, raat ko kar lunga or something, I'll do it tonight or whatever. Anytime that thought comes through your head, I should do something good, whatever that good is.
Yeah.
Act on that good. And you kind of build on that. And so no one's saying you become Umar overnight or Abu Bakr, right? But again, it's how many steps, right? You said it so beautifully. How many steps am I really making towards that, right? And if I failed and I just gave up, I got to check my intention, man. Like, why'd I just give up, right? Okay, we know we're going to slip. Insan comes from the word nasiya. I'm going to forget. I'm going to, make mistakes. I'm going to slip. I understand that. But if I just give up, then that begs the question, what was my intent to begin with? Who was I doing it for?
Somebody once said to me that, why do you fail so many times? So throughout my whole life, I'm a big guy, right? Alhamdulillah, I've always been big. My parents are small people. My mom's Gujarati. My dad's Maiman. They're small people, but naturally I'm a big guy. And, it's always been a struggle. I've had people that, mashallah, have helped me out a lot in Chicago, here. I probably worked out with every single person that I've ever met. My Mufti Nauman's worked out with me. ARB is in the comment section. I worked out with him, in Chicago. And I fail a lot.
Yeah.
I work out, I try, but then I collapse. I put on my weight. Somebody once came to me and goes, Sheikh, why do you fail so much? And I said to him, because I have the courage to stand back up and try once again.
Right.
And if I fail again, it's okay. I'm going to go to my garage at night and work out with my weights. And then I know somewhere down the line I'm going to fail, but I'm going to stand back up. So failing isn't that bad. It's just, you just need the courage to pick yourself back up and keep moving forward.
Right. Is anyone over here a Rocky fan? Anyone watch the Rocky films?
You were about to quote Rocky. I was actually about to quote, since it's kind of, it's The Last Dance, right? Is about to air tonight, episodes 3 and 4. So I was like, let me throw in a Jordan quote real quick. He's like, I'm okay with failing, man. Because if it wasn't for those failures, I would have never succeeded. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be watching that tonight. So hey, why not just benefit example? It's
Also,
really interesting, man. Yeah.
we take that in our spirituality as well. We take that. So we understand that when it comes to our worldly, parts of our life, but the same thing goes to the same mentality, whether it's Firaz with Rocky, or Jordan, or or anybody. I know ARB's having a laugh in the comments saying that he says that I always feel like I love carbs, but the same. But I would say something, but I know I love carbs. I mean, a nice plate of chawal. he thinks see, the joke's on him because it's so true. If the 40 minutes I get before we have to jump onto our night program, I may throw back a good plate of biryani. But we look at all of this in our worldly aspect, but the same mentality goes to our spirituality as well. You're gonna fail. It's okay. Pick yourself back up. Bad things will happen. It's okay. Keep going. If I look at every journey in my life and say that why did I fail? Is it because I did something wrong? No. It just happens. And that's where spirituality comes in as well. Today, you might feel like a good Muslim. Tomorrow, you might not. It's right.
So I have a few questions for you, but I want to ask first is how long is this program supposed to go on? Because I do want to be mindful of the time.
Yeah, we did originally say half hour, but I think subhanAllah, like it's been going. Time went by so fast, man.
It really did, man.
So I know Sheikh Salah is going to be on at 7.
7?
He's on at 7 on our first call.
And Mufti Nauman, do you have something to be at as well, or somewhere to be at?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be live with Sheikh Abdurrahman. I think that's why he's commenting right now.
Hey, mashallah.
So we'll go ahead and end this. What I will ask from both of you guys, inshallah, is Sheikh Mubeen and Mufti Nauman, could you guys just give one piece of advice real quick on how to cope with any struggling that we might have going on in our life right now, be that during Ramadan or outside of Ramadan? And then once you guys both share your pieces of advice, we'll have an ending dua, and then we'll finish the program for today.
What's up?
Man, that's such a loaded question, subhanAllah, and it's so tough to just pinpoint it down to one specific advice. But I think the most appropriate way to end off would be with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where upon occasion he was with Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, and Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu asked him this, like he was with him, he was behind the Prophet ﷺ, and so he tells him, he says, Ya ghulam, inni u'allimuka kalimat, I'm going to teach you a few words. And the words that he taught him were so beautiful, and they were basic, right, in terms of meaning, but they were so powerful at the same time. And he says, "Ihfadillah yahfadhka," right? Protect your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will protect you. Ihfadillah tajidhu tujahak. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will continue to protect you. And this is where it gets really, really beautiful. He says, إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ وَاعْلَمْ. Know and just understand one thing. أَنَّ الْأُمَّةَ لَوْ اجْتَمَعَتْ. If the whole entire world gathered together, عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَنْفَعُكَ, so that they could benefit you in anything. The whole world, imagine like the whole population of this earth was to get on one side just to give you any sort of benefit. But Allah did not have that benefit decreed for you. They can't do nothing for you. And on the flip side of the coin, if the whole entire world gathered together to cause you some sort of harm, and Allah did not have that harm decreed for you, that harm is not going to touch you. And so the reflection here is that how much truly does this resonate with me, right? Like when stuff hits the fan, where's my mind really going to, right? Ultimately, what I want to be at is reflecting over these exact words. The whole world could be against me, man, but if I got Allah in my corner, that's all I need. That's all I ever need, right? And so that would be one of many, but that would be one that I would specifically pinpoint. How about you, Sheikh?
I think like Mufti Nauman just like mic drop, just like let go of it. Done. We're done.
I don't have nice mics like you guys, man. Sorry.
That hadith is basically it. I mean, you can't get anything better than that hadith when it comes to this topic. I actually, my own mother, she was going through some hardships Again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her soul, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make her grave in the garden of paradise. She was going through some hardships, and she was really worried about it. And again, I'm never a scholar with her. I was always a son to her, never a scholar. But this hadith came to my mind, and I shared this hadith with her, and she was like, "Done." She goes, I'm not going to worry anymore." And like whenever after that, whenever I tried to bring that topic up, she's like, "I don't care." She's like, "Allah got me, right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to go through this hardship, then I'm going to go through this hardship.
Yeah.
If Allah hasn't written for me, then it wouldn't have happened. But my Lord wants it to happen to me. Done. I'm going to go through it." And so I think that hadith just sums it all up. Me saying anything after this doesn't make any putting weight to it. But the one I will share, a very ayat that we use a lot, that inna ma'al usri yusra. When you're going through those hardships, just remember that those hardships won't last.
Right.
Good times will come. And when you're going through good times, then remember those won't last as well. A very beautiful lesson that I learned from Khalifa Harun Rashid. Khalifa Harun Rashid, he took his ring and gave it to his advisor, and he said that, "I want you to write something on here that when I'm happy, it'll make me sad, and when I'm sad, it'll make me happy." Right? Something that whenever I look at my ring, I wanted to play with my emotions. Right. He comes back with an engravement on there that this time will pass. So he goes that whenever I look at it in moments I'm happy, I remember that this time will pass and sadness will hit me. And whenever I look at during hard times, this time will pass and happiness will hit me. And I always hold that so dear. Just remember that this time that you're going through will pass. Right now, this pandemic that we're in, or this situation that we're in, this time will pass as well. Inshallah. And we're gonna look at it, inshallah, years from now, probably sitting back having chai, watching Luka Doncic dominate, and like, hey, remember that year that we were just like stuck at home doing nothing, and we had to talk to her behind his screen.
He dropped the Cowboys first, and a part of me died when I heard that. Right, as a Giant. And now you're talking about Luka, and as a Knicks fan, I just can't keep hearing these Dallas teams. So just move away from Dallas teams for a second.
So one thing I've learned today is when you are in a session with somebody, you got to make sure that they don't have a cooler accent than you. I think Mufti Nauman with his like New York accent.
I swear, man, listening to Mufti Nauman, I'd be afraid to meet him in the back of an alley, man. I feel like he just dropped one on me, man.
You lost one.
Like, you're not dropping anything else, man. Just mine.
With that being said, though, I do know that you have another commitment right after this, Mufti Nauman. So with that, we do appreciate everyone who tuned in to listen. Inshallah, next week, Sunday, same time at 6 p.m., we will have our second installment of True Believers, Whispers of Shaytan. With that being said, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.